What up, everybody? Just wanted to say hi. Let's go make some shit. Set my camera straight. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. I'm so happy to be here today. If not a little tired from weekend activities. So, we've got, wow, I got a lot of work to do. And I'm not entirely sure where to begin, so I'm just going to start. We've got several terrain pieces that I've been prepping over the week with ground texture and some air dry clay with a textured rolling pin. And actually, one of the things that I wanted to show you guys, since I didn't record it and I wanted to make sure it was dry before the stream, is I wanted to show you how I did this texture on this clay stuff here. So what I did was I cut myself a little piece of foam core, MDF, and I've got the last little bit of my Das air dry clay, Das clay. I've got a wooden rolling pin, and I've got my Green Stuff World small cobblestone roller. Now, it took me a little bit of figuring on how I wanted to accomplish the cobblestone texture in the ground. This Frostgrave game takes place in the ruins of an old magical city, and I figured having little bits of cobblestone show up through the snow would be a fantastic terrain feature to have on the terrain board as a whole. I wanted to show you guys some other things too ahead of time, but in the interest of keeping the stream going, I decided to do them beforehand. So it's kind of going to be like a cooking show today, where the cook has prepared all of the meals beforehand to show you how they are when they're done, but then preps them and puts them in the oven, with one exception, and I'll get to that after. So I've taken a small piece of my air dry clay here. I'm actually going to take a little bit less. That's a little bit more than what I need for this. And I just knead it until it's soft and pliable, and spread it out on our MDF. Actually, I'm going to use a little more. Screw it. And I've got it just laid out here, and there's no particular way to do this. There's no great way to do this. I got my rolling pin. I'm going to roll it out pretty flat. It doesn't stick that well to the MDF. I tried, let's see if I can dig it out here. On one of these pieces, yeah, this one, I tried mixing the clay with PVA glue, and all that did was make the clay super sticky and very hard to work with. So I don't recommend doing that. It might work for smaller applications like basing, but don't do it for this, in my opinion. I think it's a waste. So you roll this out as thin as you want it, or as thin as you need it to be. I guess I'm kind of making like a little road here or something. It doesn't need to be perfect. Nothing I ever do is. You know this. So now that I've got that, take out this textured roller, which I don't know if you can see it. It's the reverse pattern of the cobblestone on it. These things are amazing. It took forever to get here. It took about 3 weeks to get here. It shipped from Spain. I wish it could have gotten here quicker, but it is what it is, because I wanted to show it to you guys last time we did a stream. But you just take it and you roll it over the top without pressing too hard, otherwise the clay will stick to it. And you just roll it down in a continuous motion, and you end up with your texture. And then what I did was I came in just with my fingers and I blended the edges in, and this helped lock it down to the MDF. Now, I don't know if you want to do this for, you know, everything you do with, but this is how I did it for this. Just like this, going all the way around the edge. Blends it in to the flat. And then I took a little bit of my ground texture and watered it down a little more so that it was more of a thinnish kind of mud. Without it being watery, I didn't want it to be able to drip. And then I just came in and blended it around the edges, which helped bring the level of the background back up to the level of the clay. And as long as I don't push too hard, I won't mess up my clay. Just keep dabbing with my finger here. And the areas where it's too thick, I'll take some and move it. It doesn't need to be all that thick for this. Just thick enough to hide the transition from the MDF, from the level surface going up. Yes, actually, I watched a video the other day. Black Magic Craft had on his show the maker of the Shifting Lands Guider Pro and other accessories for the Proxxon hot wire table. And one of the things that he made was his own rolling pin, which I had been looking to do forever, and he did it with a piece of very soft, I forgot the type of PVC, but he used a PVC pipe that was roughly 2 inches in diameter, or 1.5 inches in diameter, and he used that exact method. He used a Dremel and carved out a rock pattern using some other stuff too. He said he used double-sided sticky tape and stuff like that to carve it out, to make the pattern and all that, and then he carved it out. He said it took him about 20 hours to do. Now, I don't want to work 20 hours on something so that I'm going to have such limited use with. However, I think he sells them on his website. So what I think I'll do, if I remember, I'll put a link to those in the description so you guys can check them out and see what I'm talking about. He uses his for foam, but he's from Europe, and they have a different foam standard over there. They use something different than we do. Their foam's a little harder, a little different, and from what I could see, it didn't work that well on our pink foam insulation that we have here in the States. There, and now I got the ground texture all around that section of clay, and all you have to do is, you know, stick it in the sun, or, you know, put it next to a heater if you want it to dry quick, or let it dry about 24 hours, and you've got a nice little piece of terrain. This is what I ended up coming up with. So let me put this stuff away now, because I don't need it. This DOS air dry clay, by the way, is amazing stuff, and I'm going to be getting some more of it to do some more stuff here. At some point here in the future. It's pretty cheap too, it's pretty inexpensive. Okay, so you can see the ground paste. This is the ground paste that I made on the last stream. I put it on fairly thin, and what that did was all of the grit is exposed a lot more. It's prominent on the piece, and you can see that a lot better. It'll take a dry brushing a lot better. However, almost all of this brown that you see here, and even some of where this cobble is going to be covered in snow, because that's the nature of what we're playing at here. So one of the things that I want to do now, and this is probably going to be, I hope, the most boring part of the stream, because I don't want you guys to run away bored. I'm going to base coat all of these pieces in black, and then I'm going to, I'm sorry, not black, brown, because I want to keep the color here. And then I'm going to do some painting over this and do snow flocking. So my plan today is to paint these pieces all, well, I've got 7 of them here. I've got the 2 more upstairs in the sun drying. They should be done drying by the time I get to the end of these. They've already been outside for about an hour. So I'm going to paint these and hopefully do some of the water features. You can see here on one of these I carved a divot in the surface using a Dremel. I did fill it in with the earth texture, but a lot of that's going to get painted and filled in a color so I can make it look like a frozen pond or something. So I'll have a water feature, and I've got one of these pieces over here, one of these hill pieces, that's also got that same thing going on. And the hill pieces have exposed foam on the side. I'm going to be painting the exposed foam with black paint and Mod Podge mixture because it'll help protect it. And I'm going to paint the hills with the stone, and we should have some nice pieces starting to come together here by the end of this stream. So I'm going to grab some different colors of paint, and we're going to start getting a little bit dirty here, folks. Just give me a second to get everything together. I had contemplated using my my airbrush for this, but I don't really want to have my loud air compressor going off on the stream. It's really annoying, and I got to get a new air compressor for my airbrushing because of that fact. I don't really want to use it, so I'm going to do everything the old way. I'm going to use some paint brushing here, and yeah, let's get some color on this stuff. This project is really starting to come together for me, and I'm really starting to like it. So I'm going to just grab some supplies real quick. We're going to need some water to dip our brushes in. We're going to need paper towels. I like to have a couple on hand, folded up here. Usually keep one separate for dry brushing. Got my dollar store dessert plate palette that I use. We've got burnt umber craft paint, black, pewter gray, white, and I've also got a regular brown that I might use, just in case I'm not digging the burnt umber. I'll mix up a little bit of a different color. And a couple of larger brushes. And I got, just in case here, I got a dark gray, a slate gray, a granite gray for painting my rocks. I was going to try a different method for those, actually. So we'll get to those after, and I might do something different with those. Do the leopard spotting technique that I've seen some of the other terrain crafters do. Now I've got my fan on here blowing so that I can set pieces over here behind me on my craft table, set one aside to dry while another's being painted. I figured that would be efficient. I don't want to get paint all over my table, at least not this time, so I'm going to bust out my spare craft mat, my old one. I hardly ever throw anything away here. Alright, I think we're all set. I want to try this burnt umber paint for my earth color, mostly because the burnt umber is the same color that I used when I made the texture paste, so I shouldn't theoretically need to do too much coverage here, just kind of covering up some of these light spots. It might be a little too dark, I don't know, and it might be okay. So I've got my stuff there. I'm going to grab a pipette and add some water. Oh, this one's clogged. Take two. There we go. Pipette, add some water to water down the paint. Watering down the paint helps it hide the brush strokes. I always water down my craft paints for doing what I do, and I added a pretty good amount of water to that. That's not going to be enough paint, I can already tell you, to cover this whole thing, so let's just see what happens. Alright, yep. The burnt umber's perfect. Already looks good. Gonna keep it as it is. And I'm just gonna spread the paint around. And now you guys can watch this for a little bit while I shut up. If you guys have any questions, feel free to type them into chat. If you have any suggestions, comments, don't be afraid. Yeah, I am going to cover the whole thing. I think it'll help even out the tone of the whole thing. And I'm going to do these one color at a time as well. We're going to do like a assembly line kind of thing. I gotta get myself a Lazy Susan, like a full-size one. So when I do stuff like this, I can just turn the piece. I don't have to pick it up and touch it and all that stuff. It's a little bit more forgiving in that regard. I've just been lazy. I just gotta go do it. I've been meaning to get one of those for quite a while. These are just craft brushes that I got at Michael's. These Craft Smart, I forgot the brand of them. They're Craft Smart, but they're like a little bit higher end brush than their just general craft brushes. Very soft bristles, very nice coverage. They make very good medium to large model paint brushes. I watched a video not too long ago from the one of the big personalities in the miniature painting scene, Sam Lenz, and he talks about just using synthetic Taklon brushes that you get from like Walmart, Michael's, any place like that. And I started using some of those myself, and man, $5 or $8 for a package of like 4 or 5 brushes versus $20 for a single Winston, like a Winsor Newton Sable brush or something like that. Sign me up, because I am all set with spending $20 on a single paintbrush. I've done that before, and finding these cheaper brushes makes it so much easier to get into this kind of hobby. You can see too, kind of already over here where I was, it's already starting to dry. I mean, this stuff dries real quick. Now if I wanted to, if I really want to speed it up, I can hit it with the blow dryer. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to torture you guys with that crap today, but like I said, I'm just going to set this behind me on my desk and let the fan blow dry it. By the time I'm done with the next piece, this piece should be dry and ready for a dry brushing. So I'm going to move this over, put it over behind me over there, and grab the next one. Now this one, I'm not going to paint the brown on top of this air dry clay, and I want to be careful how much water I put in my paint when I put it on this, because water will reactivate this air dry clay. So I got to be careful and put only just a very thin amount on and let it dry again before I do anything on it. Then I'm just going to creep up on the sections of this stuff here and kind of use just the tip of my brush. This is a very nice brush for this, a very nice round edge. This is the same brush. I'm going to use this brush for most of what we do today. It's going to be good for dry brushing and everything. There we go. I just kind of use the front of the brush here, just to kind of feather it in around the edge there without getting too much of it on stuff. It's not gonna matter. I mean, like I said, snow everywhere. The transition there, I am not too concerned about how that's gonna look. Oh man, this is a lot. This is like one of my favorite steps, is painting, because it's when everything starts to look like the thing you've been trying to make. You start to see the features pop out more at you, and all of your hard work and effort to make texture starts to come out. Now, a tip about brushes too is I'm trying not to let paint get up to the ferrule, the part that keeps the brush actually connected to the handle, because it'll get caked in there. Because I'm not using that part of the brush, it'll dry. So what I'm going to do is, like, after every other piece, I'm going to clean the brush, just to make sure I don't get paint stuck in the brush. And that's how you prolong the life of your brushes, so you can keep them good without worrying about having to keep buying new brushes. And then a cheap brush will last you even longer in some cases than a more expensive one. If you've got the money to use Winsor Newton Sable brushes doing this kind of work, subscribe to me please, because that would be awesome. I could use your patronage. And yeah, I'm just using my dirty paint water for this. It does not matter. Unless your paint water's got like glue or something stupid in it like that, it really doesn't matter here. It just waters down an already dark paint. It would matter more if you're doing a lighter color, like a white or a yellow. I wouldn't use that with it, because then that would taint the color of the paint. And now you may ask why I'm not painting the sides here. Beat the devil out of the brush, like Bob Ross. He was using different color paints though, man. This is just acrylic. This shit just rinses. Like, I'm just kind of gently wiping the brush on the inside of my bottle here, and you can see the water. The water's already turned to brown because this was a fresh pot of water, but my brush is pretty much nice and clean, and I just kind of wipe it back in, just dab it. I'm not gonna beat the hell out of my brush. I don't have time for that. Maybe at the end of the whole paint session, but that's, you know, even though I'm still leaving color behind, that's good enough. The brush is still in good shape. My tip is still, like, I can still reform my tip. You know what? That is a wonderful thing to aspire to. Wouldn't that be great? I'd love to be the Bob Ross of terrain crafting. Alright, so here you can see the one that I put over there to dry. It's mostly dry. It's not quite living up to what I said about it being all the way dry by the time I was done painting this other one, but dry enough. So I'm going to leave it over there, get the next one on, lined up. This one over there to dry. Yay! Welcome! What are you building? I may have to torture you guys with the air dryer or the blow dryer if this stuff doesn't dry up quick enough. Hey, DM Mama, I don't know if you heard me or if you're just busy crafting, but I just asked what you're making today. Oh, there you are. Gate on a graveyard before the graveyard golem. Oh, jeez. Oh boy, somebody's gonna get hurt. It's definitely that time of year, though. I love building the Halloween stuff. One of my first videos for the channel was a graveyard. Very much inspired by some of the things that I had seen on DM's Craft forums. There were some very good tutorials over there on how to make gates that opened. So I followed those, and man, that's a lot of fun. The Halloween stuff has been out at Michael's now for about a month, and I really wanted to buy some of it, but I figured building some more of it would be a little bit better for me. And I don't know. I couldn't move myself to spend the money on it. I have some of the gravestones and coffins, which the little packs, they're just about the right size for 28 millimeter. So you guys can come across those at Michael's. I think it was $15, and you got like 6 or 7 gravestones and 2 or 3 coffins. That's perfect for any kind of a crypt or graveyard scene. Those are some pretty cool minis, and you can always repaint them if you don't like the paint jobs on them. And they're cast in like this hard resin. Or you can be you could practice some of your ingenuity. There we go, and be a crafter and make your own. Oh my god, guys, so much brown. So much brown on the stream today. And not in a bad way either, just saying. It's another reason why craft paint is good, is because it's cheap. Alright, there's the third one. Now I gotta see if I have room over here for this. That one's still almost dry. Oh, yeah, I got room for one more. I'm gonna have to start moving some of those soon, or start using the damn blow dryer. Or both. They're drying though, they're drying pretty quickly. I usually am so impatient with this paint. I just use the blow dryer, I just cave. I don't know if you guys, well, how could you have? I also bought a proper mount for the tablet, so I'm not going to have a problem with the tablet falling over this time on the stream. I'm not going to have to worry about it. And it shouldn't move around because I have it on a boom, so there shouldn't be the same shakiness that I had last time. So it's been a while for me, but I used to do a Halloween game back when I played 4th edition, like 5 or 6 years ago. Right around the time, maybe just a year or two before the 5th edition playtest came out, I wrote a Halloween adventure. Kind of like it, the players would be in a small town, and I'm trying to describe it. The players were in a small town, and all hell breaks loose. Basically, it's a normal, yearly kind of harvest season celebration. Where people talk about demons and all that stuff. But I made my own holiday, and it was called the Night of Open Doors, and it was the night when the veil, you know, legend has it's the night when the veil between the living and the dead is thinnest, when it's easier for them to come through. And there was all kinds of crazy mayhem and mischief, and not just undead either, but just but demons as well. And they ended up unwittingly releasing a pack of imps on a town and caused trouble, and it was a lot of fun. But I haven't really done a Halloween game since then, so I was trying to do one this year. And the plan is I have my Curse of Strahd book that I've never used, and I wanted to see about running a portion of that game or running something in Barovia. And I came across an article online that talks about how you can run Curse of Strahd as a one-shot. And you basically go into the castle. You start off, the party knows everybody to begin with. You don't have to do the usual you meet in a bar. Everybody already knows each other. You start outside Castle Ravenloft, and you go inside Castle Ravenloft to kill Strahd the vampire. And I'm like, yes, this is perfect. I'm going to do this. So this year, right around Halloween time, I'm trying to get together a group of folks, maybe as many as 7 people, to go kill Strahd. And I think it could be a lot of fun. And I'm encouraging people to dress up for the event and to play characters that are kind of like Halloween themed. And one of the people who's coming, I already got him to make a character. He made a Revenant Warlock, which I thought was awesome. So the group already has one kind of dark, you know, supernaturally themed character. And it's already starting to look like it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. I'd given some thought to potentially recording it and, you know, maybe making like a highlight reel or something, but that might make some of the people not want to go. I have some pretty shy friends, and I'm shy too, but I'm kind of immune to it now that I've been doing this, so. If anything, I'd post it as a patron exclusive. I think that might be cool. Dude, I wanted to have people dress up like their characters. I thought that'd be pretty awesome, but, you know, money is limited and stuff like that. It'd be just cooler, I think, to have some kind of minimal costuming and just have the people get together and play. I mean, I'd probably just wear my over 40 divorced vampire costume, which is like a bowling shirt, a cape, and some fangs, which was a costume I wore a few years ago, which was actually a lot of fun for me because I played a character all night and nobody got it, but I laughed my ass off. It was funny. Over 40 recently divorced vampire, or over 400, I guess you could say. But yeah, I'm big on, one of my favorite video game series of all time is Castlevania. And I love the Dracula mythos. Bram Stoker's Dracula is one of my all-time favorite movies. The old Bela Lugosi Dracula movies, those are really cool. So playing Strahd as a vampire, you know, the classy kind of arrogant prince kind of, or count, the guy who knows he's got power over everyone but pretends he doesn't. I love that kind of deceptiveness and wickedness. And I'm also a huge Buffy nerd. I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So there's that, you know, that kind of, and the Van Helsing movie. So there's that kind of ultimate slaying of evil thing that goes with it. And with that kind of mythos, it's like Castlevania, Buffy, Dracula, all that stuff. You can add any kind of monster you want, dude. You can have werewolves in a Dracula-themed adventure, or a vampire-themed adventure, or ghosts, or anything undead. It's just so much fun. We've only got a little bit more brown to paint here. 3 more pieces downstairs, and I'm going to go check on the ones out in the sun and grab those as well. I like to... I don't want to have to come back to this and try to... If I do any mixing of color, I don't want to have to come back to this and try to replicate that color. So, I mean, I could do that. The other thing I could do is to just make sure, and this makes it boring for a lot of people I know, but base coat brown, dry brush tan, you know, do the rock dark gray, dry brush light gray white. That helps me replicate things over and over again on pieces, especially pieces that are supposed to match. And then the pieces that go on top, you can do a little bit more contrast to blend them in, or not blend them in. I mean, you could have them stand out a little more, so you could paint the stones a slightly different color. Or you can paint them the same color if you're going for realism and have it look like the stone was quarried from the area they're built on. Now that might be boring to some of you, but uniformity to me, especially with art and stuff, it satisfies that obsessive compulsive desire I have for neatness and uniformity, which is why I try to break out of that so much, especially with doing the stone color and stuff. And I know Mr. Eric Lamoureux, the Wild Dye, absolutely hates it when I bust out the pewter gray and the granite gray. He really dislikes it when I use those colors over and over again, and I get it. I do. It's funny to me, so sometimes I'll mess with him and I'll do it intentionally. I'll hide a little bit in something, just see if he notices it, because it makes it, like, I imagine it makes his face twitch a little bit. I don't know, that's funny to me. He's a patron of mine. I probably shouldn't bust his balls so hard, but I think it's pretty funny. But he's right, and variation helps, and it helps you break out of your artistic box, your artistic creative box, to try new shit. And one of the things I'm eager to try with painting minis is when I bought that Green Stuff rolling pin, they sent me a color wheel, which I never went to art school or anything like that. I don't know much about color theory or anything like that. I figured it'd be cool for me to try doing my paint selection using that next time I paint a mini. And actually, the video, the next couple of weeks, this is my busy season at work. So for the next month and a half, 2 months, I'm going to be very pressed for time. So live streams are great because I can just come chill with you guys on a Sunday and I don't have to do much prep. And I can still get a video out for the week. And I can still talk to you about dork things and hang out, and people can watch the video later at their leisure, just like when I release a regular video. The live streams are great for me because if I need to, with my schedule, I can't really bank videos like I did when I first started the channel. I don't have the time to make 2 videos in a week, especially since I started stepping up my game and using new techniques and stuff. So this kind of stuff helps. So I'm going to do I got some minis to paint. I bought some miniatures. That's why I did the Treant video a week or so ago. If you guys checked that one out. If not, please do. It was a lot of fun for me to paint that. It was scary too because I didn't know how it was going to turn out in the end. It turned out amazing. I love how it came out, and everybody seems to have liked it. And when I paint a Nolzur's miniature or something like that, people tend to like the video a little bit. I'm not here for likes, but likes are nice, and it helps boost my confidence and stuff, so that was cool. But I got a couple of got a couple miniatures to paint. I got some new techniques I want to try. And I've got a couple of products that I want to unbox and demo. So that look for those in the coming weeks as well. And with Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up, those are big around my house. With those coming up, they're going to be, those kind of videos are going to be prevalent for me this time of year, going forward, at least indefinitely, just because it's easier for me to get them out. So I just, long rambling story aside, don't be too disappointed if you see a video of a type you're not fond of, like a review or something like that, because I'm just, just trying to keep the stuff flowing. Such is the plight of the content creator. You have to come out with a video every week or your shit doesn't get noticed. Or, not every week, but regularly. Okay, so now I have one of my hill pieces. Now, I want to protect the side of this, so I'm going to rinse my brush. Get that cleared up. So I'm going to break away from brown for a moment. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to run outside up the basement stairs real quick and check on my two pieces out in the sun, see how they're faring. And if they're dry, I'm going to grab them and bring them down to paint too, because it's 2 more pieces just like these. I've got another one here, this one, and 2 more that make up this this whole hill. Just give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Alright, they are dry. Pretty much almost completely too. I did these about an hour before the stream started, folks, and the color variation may be a little different because of how it dried, and it might still have just a little bit of moisture left in it, but I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to paint over this. It's dry enough. Excellent. Cool. And there was no warpage to the MDF, which is very, very important. I got to, I'm going to try to figure out something for the next stream to have some kind of background sound going on here. Not that you were suggesting that that's, the case or anything. I get it. That's funny. But I always wanted to have some kind of a background noise. I don't like long silences watching these things. Some people like the ASMR aspect. It drives me crazy sometimes to not have something in the background, and other times I'm fine with it. This is painting and crafting is sounds corny. It's a spiritual thing for me. It's a meditative thing. It calms me down. It relieves my anxiety. It helps me with to cope with the problems of the week. It helps me express myself. I can go on with this stuff. That's why I love it. It's why it's so much fun for me, because it takes that part of me and moves it into the open. I know you were kidding. I get it. But even so, there's truth to it. Even before your comment, I have wanted to put music in the background of my videos. The fan is your white noise. Okay. I get it. I will let that lull you into a sense of complacency and then you will be my minions forever, and that's the end of it. We'll just live with that, I guess. That's what I'm going with. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Alright. Yes. One of the oldest things in modern crafting times. I feel like this has got to be on almost anybody who watches Black Magic Craft has probably got a container of this stuff lying around. That dude has come up with more creative solutions to things than I've seen in a very long time, and sealing foam, since foam was kind of his deal, here it is right here. Mod Podge and black craft paint. The Black Magic base coat, as it's called. Now, what I like to do when my pot gets low is dump it into these little dose cups here and use these so that I don't have to get my brush all coated in the stuff. And then I can dump the remnants back. Now, I'm doing this before I paint my brown. Why? I want to. How's that? Good enough for you? Now I'm using a different brush for this because I want to this stuff can gunk up brushes. Just, it does. And it really can't be avoided unless you really thin it down. So I'm going to paint. You guys might not be able to see this too well. I'll try to show you at least on the first one. I'm just going to go along the side here, just to help protect the edge, protect the foam. Now, my understanding, Mod Podge it functions like a PVA, like a very thin PVA, but it is not PVA. It's like there's an acrylic element to it. There's a polyurethane element to it. Its intended purpose, from my understanding, is for decoupage and things like that, gluing pieces of paper to vases and scrapbooks and stuff like that. But it works excellent as a sealer, which is another one of its purposes, for sealing paintings, sealing art, and in this case, sealing XPS foam. So it helps protect it from damage because it forms a very tough coat when it dries, much like PVA. You can do this exact same thing with PVA, as a matter of fact, if you want to. But there you go. So that edge is painted black. And that'll also help take the seam when the seam is lined up against another piece. If you happen to just glimpse inside the seam between the two pieces, you'll see black instead of a pink color or something like that, which we don't want. We don't want to see pink. And once that dries, I'll paint the brown on. Now this one I'm gonna get a little lower to paint. I'm not gonna try to show you guys this one so much. I'm just gonna, convenience it for my sake. When it comes to PVA glue and Mod Podge, keeping that stuff towards the end of the bristles of your brush, see how I still got the black on the tip and more of the brown bristles, helps prevent it from getting caked where the brushes meet the handle. Just like the paint, except this, you can work at it and work at it and work at it. It'll take you forever to get it out of there, and you won't get it all out. But if you keep it towards the tip of the brush, you're much more likely to save your brush. Yes, I don't think I've ever had this many large pieces chilling in my way in my life. I gotta clean up the edge of this one. So, these pieces that I just got from outside, I'm just gonna take my craft knife and scrape the edge a little here to get rid of the overhang with the texture paste. I want it to be even with the edge of the, what do you call it, MDF. So I'm kind of using a scraping motion with the edge of the knife to get rid of the excess. I'll extend my knife nice and long here and cut off the excess on the top. Now there might be gaps when I put this stuff together, whatever. Some of the pieces, my opinion is let the internet shit itself. I don't care. The internet can shit itself for all I give a crap. I'm doing me, and that's all there is to it. People will watch my videos or they won't. That's how I look at it. Of course, I hope they stay. I like having people around, but I just want to show you guys what I'm doing. So, I'm not going to stress it. That same thing that I did with the knife, I did that to all the pieces, by the way, because all of these pieces had texture paste kind of over the edge slightly. You can do multiple coats of this stuff too if you want, but I find it's not really necessary because you can come back in with a black paint afterwards and do some more coverage. But if you feel the piece isn't protected enough, you can get away with multiple coats. I wouldn't do it on anything with fine detail because this stuff has a tendency to lessen details on small things. So like texture on wood and stuff like that, or by small cobblestone, for instance, it would lessen the sharpness of it, which is not something I want. Okay, there's another one. Got one more. Now, seeing that I didn't use nearly as much of that Mod Podge and black paint as I poured, I'm just going to pour it right back into the container. Okay, there's that. Keep multiple paper towels around. I'm done with that painting, so I want to clean this brush like a lot better than I have the others so far. I think that's good enough. The bristles may be a little stiff the next time I use this brush, but they're not going to be seized up, which is what I want. I don't want them to be unusable. And this brush is getting a little old anyway. I've used this one quite a bit. Okay, let's go back to our browns now. One, two, three, four. Okay. Trying to find the first one I worked on. It's down here. The Mod Podge is going to take a little bit to dry, so I just have to be mindful. And I might have to come back in with some black paint on the side here. Clean some of that up, so that's what I'm going to do first, I think. No, you know what? I'm not going to worry about that right now. Do that later. Let's go back to painting our browns. And you notice when I made these hills on the stream last time, I put the same DIY Sculptamold on top that I did to use for the homemade rock faces. But I found I didn't necessarily like the texture of it as much as I liked the overall kind of, I don't know what else to call it, the roll of it, how it looks more like, you know, natural earth, which I really dug. I thought that was really cool. But it needed the ground texture on top of it to make it complete, so I put some of my ground texture on it. And I think the end result speaks for itself. It looks really nice. I'm not going to worry about brown paint getting over the edge, because I'm going to come back in with black later on the edges and clean them up. Now I did, for these rock faces, I did like my molds, but I didn't really like my molds. So I went and I grabbed some of the Woodland Scenics rock face molds, which should be interesting. Next time I do something like this, I'm definitely going to try using these, because these have a lot more of a realistic rock face texture to them. I actually haven't gotten a chance to try them yet. I can't wait to try those out. I think they'd look really nice. I mean, this looks good. It looks okay. It's going to look like rock when it's done, don't get me wrong, but I have both as an option now to use. Something a little bit larger for cliffs, I can resize mine any size I want, but the Woodland Scenics ones fit the 1-inch foam. paint underneath, the water from this paint has been on here so long, the paint underneath on the palette starting to separate and move around and kind of turn into like a gunk. So I'm not really getting, I'm getting a little bit of that chunkiness mixed in. Fortunately, I'm doing a ground texture. You won't even notice it when it's dry. I've had that happen before. I should have cleaned my palette, but whatever. It don't matter. All set. Only a couple more to go with the brown, and then we'll be moving on. I wanted to have some open areas to where I could put buildings and such. That's why I didn't put cobblestone on every tile, because I felt like if I wanted to put in a ruined building or something, I didn't want it to kind of hang over the cobblestone. I kind of wanted the cobblestone to have its own, I don't know, be able to put like the town notice board or something on it, stuff like that. Have it be, the roads coming up, and the houses wouldn't be on the roads. So I figured, or houses and buildings, I figured I'll do it that way. But honestly, I don't do logistics. I mean, it's weird. I kind of do and I kind of don't. I do like a 50-50 mix of what would be real and whatever the hell I feel like doing. So like if, hey, rocks wouldn't have that color, Mattster. It's like, so I don't care. They do now, like it doesn't matter. I'm not trying to win awards or anything, so sometimes I guess it's about time, how much time I have to do something. Sometimes I guess it's what looks good on the table is not necessarily what looks good in real life. And have you guys ever taken, you take like a digital image and you zoom in really far on it, and it's got pixels that make up the total, span of the image. I think it's the opposite with this. You zoom in, and it gets almost blurrier. No, I guess it is the same thing. It gets blurrier when you zoom in on it, and you zoom out, and you get much more detail. So you can kind of simplify the details, I guess is what I'm looking for, when you're doing the bigger terrain pieces and even the miniatures, I guess, to a lesser extent. So like this rock outcropping, you don't have to stick little sprigs of grass off it to make it look exact. You know it's a rock outcropping. Oh hey, those are rocks, and you're not necessarily going to go, oh man, you really fucked up, Master. You didn't have that little piece of copper that would exist in 5 parts per million of rock. That doesn't happen. It's pretty cool, actually. I'm gonna fill it with what makes me happy. I'm gonna fill it with unicorns and pizzas and... No unicorns, but I might make some miniature pizzas. With one exception, though. I'm going to... Since this is Frostgrave, it's not springtime. So there's going to be, if any, very, very little grass on these pieces. In fact, there might be so much as none. Because I want it to be fully representative of the frozen landscape that is Frostgrave. Alright, one more. Come on. Come on. There we go. Oh, jeez. You can't... Okay, I got you. That's fine. This corner piece here, this was the edge of the terrain board, so I'm going to have to cut this little knob off here on the corner because it was bumped into a corner or something. You, my friend, have probably watched more Bob Ross than any of us. I saw very little of him when I was very little. They used to have him on PBS when I would stay home with my grandma. I like watching his son too, Steve Ross. He's really good. He's almost as good as his dad is at doing his pictures. He's got the same kind of demeanor as his old man too, which I thought was pretty cool. Yeah, Bob Ross's son's name is Steve. And it's actually, he was on his dad's show a few times from what I saw. And he was doing the painting for the day. It was pretty cool. I don't know what he's doing now. I watched a documentary on Bob Ross a long time ago, and I don't remember much of it. But yeah, you could find Steve on YouTube. That's how I found him. Yeah, I accidentally spilled some paint on my rock face, so might as well just ride it. Let it be. Part of me's kicking myself. Next time I make this terrain board, or this kind of terrain board, I want to make these hills have a little bit less of a degree of an angle. I can have miniatures actually like stand on the hillside. That would have been cool, but hindsight being what it is, I guess. This is going to look okay. I'm not worried about that, but it just, I always think of things I could have done after the fact, and it's like, why didn't I think of that? Okay, now it's time to do some cleaning. We're done with our brown. So I want to move these out of my way for a minute so I can do some cleanup. Change out my water. Clean off my palette. I've got a container here, empty Gatorade bottle that I'm going to use for my junk water. I don't have a sink in the basement, so I'm going to dump my junk paint water in there. And I've got clean water here. It's just tap water. It's not that clean because the bottom of the jar had paint in it, but it's cleaner than before. I'm going to take a couple paper towels here and wipe my palette down. Yeah, see all the paint scum that's coming up from the bottom there? Good enough. Not bad. Good enough. Get another couple paper towels ready. I should buy stock in Bounty for fuck's sake. I've used so many paper towels. Alright, oops. I missed one. Damn it. I forgot one. Alright, hold on. I gotta paint one more. It's alright, this will be our test subject. We'll use this one to move forward with things. One of my next projects like this, I'm definitely going to do a grassland board. I love doing the static grass and stuff like that, or the flocking. I mean, but it is my intention to get a static grass applicator or make one. so that I can do the fields of grass and stuff. And one of the things that I want to do is make modular farms, just for, you know, the random road travel encounters for D&D. I think that'd be pretty dope. The terrain tutor, excuse me, Mel from the UK, he has excellent videos on how to make modular farms, and I was thinking about following a couple of his tutorials to do them, because he's amazing. And I want to get a copy of his book too, because he's got a lot of pointers in there and stuff that I'm sure are available in video form, but it's nice to have everything like that collected in one volume. But if you guys are looking for another kind of channel like this to check out and you don't know about him already, please check out Mel the Terrain Tutor. He's a very nice guy. He's got a ton of followers and he still responds to people's questions, and he's got a very interesting way of doing things. He's been doing this terrain building and stuff for a long time, and I trust his advice probably more than I trust anybody else's advice when it comes to doing this stuff. He really seems to know what he's doing. Damn. Did not mix up enough paint. Fortunately, I do not need much more. All right, now I'm gonna clean my brush. Good enough. Okay, now we're gonna cheat, because I'm tired of waiting for this paint to dry on some of these pieces, so I'm going to blow dry them real quick. One of the ones that I really like from foreign countries also, TWS, Tabletop Workshop. Those guys, they blow me away. You do not, and you're absolutely right, you don't need to speak a lick of English to understand what they're doing, and it's phenomenal. They only release I think maybe 3 or 4 videos per month, but they're not on a necessarily a regular basis. But those guys, it's actually a couple of people who do that channel. I forgot their names, but they're really cool. They're also really cool people. If you want to share those other channels, feel free. Leave links in the chat box if you can think of the other 2 channels. That'd be great. But yes, Tabletop Workshop. Those guys are amazing. I love them. They've inspired me to do a few things that I haven't yet really implemented into the channel that I will eventually. All right, you ready for some noise? I'm gonna use the ye old blow dryer to speed things up a little bit. The problem sometimes with speed drying with the blow dryer is it can form a film over the top of any of the places where you've put the paint on a little thicker and actually prevent them from drying, and then when you brush up against them or touch them, it'll pop, kind of like a bubble, and there'll be wet paint underneath. So I'll do a little bit of blow drying, and then I'll come back in with the paintbrush, especially if I put it on thick like I did on this piece. Come back in with the paintbrush, spread the wet paint back around, and then you hit it again with the blow dryer, and you know, it's the second or third time around, completely dry. Honestly, DM Mama, I think DM Scotty is, I credit him and DMG Info with starting this whole tabletop crafting craze, and I consider them partially responsible, along with the likes of like Acquisitions Incorporated and Vox Machina and stuff, for spreading D&D as much further as it has gone. And they've been in it since 4th edition, so like with the Dwarven Forge stuff when they came out, and some of the other companies that came out with modular terrain and stuff, those guys were putting out a cheaper alternative at the time than anybody else could, and it involved people in making the stuff themselves, which is, I think, as crafters, we owe 99.9% of what we do to them. And then the rest to people like Luke's APS, Terrain Tutor, you know, Jeremy on Black Magic Craft. And then, you know, him blowing up as big as it. Jeremy's bigger than DM Scotty for crafting on YouTube, for crying out loud. Like, how did that happen? I mean, talk about, you know, surpassing the master. I don't even know how you could do that, but to this day, DM Scotty still makes awesome terrain from very cheap, very affordable things that anybody can go into their garbage can and pull out, you know, something that looks amazing on the table and looks so individualistic. That's why I like Frankie Crafter's stuff so much, because there's nobody else like him out there that does what they do. There's nobody else that does it the way he does it, which is perfect the way he does it. I don't ever want him to change the way he does his stuff, because it's so him. But yeah, we owe a lot to DM Scotty and DMG Info. Those guys definitely pioneered the tabletop crafting stuff. Not necessarily terrain building, what I'm doing here, but doing all the little, you know, oh, you need a bridge for your 5th edition game. Oh, hey, look what I found at the Craft Mart. It's like, yes, dude, that's so cool. Sorry, I've got my tongue up DM Scotty's butt a little bit here, but I love that guy. He's amazing. Hey! You made it in. Good to see you. Welcome. What's going on? You finished your lunch? I have seen Bard's Craft. I have not delved into his videos as much as the other people. He's in my feed a lot, and I am a subscriber. I just haven't done the deep dive into his stuff yet like I've done with all the other guys. But it's on my very long list of things to do. So I've seen him, but I have not gone deep into him yet. That sounded really wrong. I'm gonna forget I said that. Oh no, kitty! Oh no! It happened off camera. Somewhere right here where I have pieces drying, my cat just walked right across all the brown paint, and now there's little brown footprints on my floor. Kitty, why did you do that? You silly cat. Oh my god. I hope she didn't I hope she doesn't try to... Oh, it's non-toxic, so I'm not worried about... Oh my god, there's little brown footprints on my floor. Kitty. Alright. I gotta stop blow drying here for a minute. Just move this one off to the side. I've got some drier pieces over here we can work on, so I don't have to keep doing that. Oh, that's too funny. So I love about acrylic paint, though, it cleans up with water. I'm not worried. I'm not worried about the cat. Any paint she had on her foot is now on my floor. Oh, kitty. I came downstairs the other night and found her sleeping on my pieces that I just made, so... Yeah. She definitely likes to... She likes my games, too, I guess. I like how this is drying. It looks like a nice dark, rich soil, which is a very good color. It's very, I don't know, it's pleasing to me. I like it, so I'm gonna keep it. I've got a desert sand color here, which I'm going to use. I actually saw something I want to try. Dr. Faust from Dr. Faust's Painting Clinic does not use paper towels for his dry brushing. He uses old t-shirts and rags. So I have here a t-shirt that I have ripped apart already that I've been using for crafting like tents and tarps and stuff. And I'm just going to cut off a piece and give this a try for my dry brushing and see how much I like it. He says the t-shirt absorbs more paint than the paper towel. So let's test it. We've got our brush here, which I am getting brown on my hand wiping off. Guys, it's acrylic paint. It doesn't matter. In fact, you could test the level of the dry brushing by how well it leaves the other spots behind. And I put my hand under water for 2 seconds and all that brown will be gone, so I'm not worried about it. So I've got here a desert sand color, which I'm going to use to do the dry brushing on all this. And I'm going to just get a little bit on my brush. And wipe this off on our t-shirt. There's still a little bit of dark brown in here, but we're going to do ourselves a dry brushing here. Just a light one over the top. I'm not pushing very hard. I'm just wiping the brush across the surface. So far, so good. I'm really liking the outcome. Another reason why I decided to use a soft brush, because I wanted to be able to do this gently with the dry brushing. I don't know if this is the right or the wrong way to go about this. Probably should have painted these first and my rocks, but I'm eager to dry brush my dirt because it gives me a sense of progress. Painting brown for so long. But I can fix anything that I mess up on this. It's really easy to do. And that one brush full of paint was able to dry brush this whole thing. And you can see it, the detail that helped bring out with all the raised areas and the rock texture. Like I said, a lot of this is going to be covered with snow, but I think it was the terrain tutor. He was the one that convinced me that it's okay to paint the underside a good color too. If any of your flocking or anything rubs off on the top and you're left with this exposed, it looks like you intended to do it. So I'll take that for what it's worth. Okay, there's one piece. Put one of these other pieces over there to dry. Another one here I'm going to have to blow dry. I'm going to use my other brush right here. The one that I did the black with, just so I don't have to worry about switching colors. Dab that out a little bit. Again, dry brushing. And yes, I'm liking the t-shirt method. I'm liking it very much for the dry brushing. Yeah, exactly. Happy accidents. One thing I'm noticing is the deco art. I know I just sniffed my paintbrush. The deco art has a very different odor to it than the Craftsmart paint. They must use a different medium. It smells a little bit more chemically. Not necessarily bad in a bad way, but it's got like a sweet, sour kind of taste or smell to it. Not taste. Oof, that'd be awful. You don't know. Oh shit. Oh man, that's unlucky. The blue feet. Our cat's an outdoor cat. I don't know about your cat. Our cat's an outdoor cat. So she'll go outside and run around, and that'll come off. I'm not worried about it. And you know, I'm in the basement, so cement. But I can't imagine getting that on carpet. That would have been awful. Imagine a red paint on a nice white carpet. Ooh, that's the craft that ended in divorce. My God. Things are going a little bit quicker now that we moved on to the dry brushing. I'm liking it. Yeah, pretty much the only time that I use my paints straight out of the pot is when I'm dry brushing. The craft paint, anyway. A separate topic altogether for the model paints. Yeah, and like back to what was before, like a paintbrush on a carpet. I don't care how much water, seltzer, wet dry vac you use, you're not getting all that red acrylic paint out of that nice carpet either. Pretty little kitty footprints walking around living room floors, covered in red paints. Kitty's like, meow, don't care, and you're like, what the hell? Like our kitten that one time when she was brand new, the old cat we had, she didn't know any better and she had poop all over her, and she went and snuggled with my dad and got poop on his face, and we laughed. He didn't. I suppose a hard, flat, solid surface for a floor is important when you're a crafter. I wouldn't trade crafting upstairs for crafting in the basement any day. This is so much less worrisome for me. I used to do my crafting at my Herstart's mold casting right at my computer desk in my room, and that was before we got new carpeting in the house, and I got plaster and paint and little bits of wood everywhere. Those were back in my DM Scotty days when I was watching him a lot, before I really got into crafting. Okay. We're moving right along, folks. Some bits that still need a little bit of dry time. I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there. If you're a crafter and shit's not happening, you need to craft more, because it fucking will. Alright, we're moving right along. Got a decent amount of time left too. I was planning on going till 3, but we'll see. I might go a little longer with this one because I'm having fun. Yeah, I'm getting the feeling like I should have painted my stone first on this, but I might have to come back and do a little touch-up later, but I'll just do what I've been doing and working on the main parts of this while you guys are on stream with me, and then kind of doing touch-up and stuff in the background. Which, by the way, if any of you watching, if you guys want to, you can head over to my Patreon page, become a supporter. As little as $1 a month, I do the pay what you can model. You can see, previews of things in between. I posted a lot of work that I was doing on this, maybe not a lot, but a bit of the work that I was doing on this leading up to the stream. So if you kind of want to see that thing, you can head on over there and become a member and, you know, help support the channel and stuff. I think that's enough of a plug. I'm not much of a salesman. I'd rather just make the stuff. Yes, I am finding I really do not like the odor of this Deco Art paint. It's really... ugh. It smells gross. I like the Craft Smart paint. It smells good. It's got a pleasant smell to it, but... Okay, that's another one done. All right, I'm liking this. I've heard some crafters and model builders say you don't need to use heat with the blow dryer if you use the blow dryer. I think it depends on what you're working with. This kind of thing, I almost always use heat. The paint dries based on evaporation. The medium and the water and the paint evaporates, leaving behind the pigment. That's how it dries. Water evaporates quicker with heat. I think that's just a fact. So using heat with it helps it dry faster, but you don't need heat in order to help it dry. That's why I have the pieces sitting on the table behind me with the fan. It dries quicker with heat, which is why, you know, people like Adam Savage and these people you see on TV and stuff when they're doing costumes will use heat guns or blow dryers to help speed paint drying. Just throw that out there. I do use my blow dryer when I'm painting minis. That being said, if the mini is thick, like it has not a lot of little thin plastic bits on it, I'll use the heat. But if it's got like a sword or something on it, like that's really thin, that's going to bend when exposed to heat, I will push the cold button on the blow dryer to help the paint dry. But I almost always use a blow dryer when I'm painting because I can't stand waiting for paint to dry to move on to the rest of my model, because I want to have fun. I don't want to sit here waiting for paint to dry. I'm not patient enough for that. I think I got the dry brushing on this one just about perfect. The other one was a little bit too heavy. Yeah, honestly, I couldn't do it another way. Yeah, sometimes, right, exactly. You gotta let it go, whatever your need is for whatever you're working on at any given time. Sometimes it's appropriate, sometimes it's not. Most of the time, I do like you said. blow dry it, let all the thin areas dry, and then come back in and tap the wet areas, then dry it some more, and it works. It works for me. Some people have the patience to wait for a piece to dry like that. I don't. It's just not something that I can do. Now that these pieces are drying, though, I can start resting them on top of one another so I can save space. Oh, that one I already painted. I need to do this one. This one's a little bit more wet. We're getting there. We're definitely getting there. I just want to make sure my dry brush doesn't dry out. I don't want paint to dry inside the brush. That's the other thing too with the dry brushing. I'm going a little bit heavy, so I'm getting it up where I don't want it as well. So I want to make sure this brush gets wiped off really good. And if I get a little bit too much paint caked up in the base of the brush, I'll soak it overnight in isopropyl alcohol, and that'll help release it and keep the brush working fine. But also, like I said, these are cheap brushes. This brush was in a pack of 4 other brushes, different types, and it was like $6. This brush has more than served me well. So if I have to replace it like in the next couple of weeks or even months, I'm fine with that. It doesn't cost that much money. I'm not too overly worried. Paint brushes in alcohol, yes. It's not perfect, and I think a paint thinner would work better, but I don't have any, and I think that shit could be way too toxic. I have a second jar like this, just another, food jar that I captured from some pickles or something, and I fill it about, a quarter of the way with isopropyl alcohol. 97% works best, 75 is okay, 50 doesn't do too well, or 75 or whatever the 70 something mix is. And if I get a brush that's got paint or glue, it does work on PVA glue to a lesser extent, or even Mod Podge somewhat, a little bit. If I got something caked up in the fucking brushes here, the bristles up in the back, I'll throw the brush into the rubbing alcohol overnight, let it soak, and the next day I'll come rinse it out, and it'll clean out the majority of the crap caked in the brush and help restore your brush. I've noticed that it does, like if I'm doing my homemade wash with the heavy Liquitex medium, it doesn't really work. The alcohol doesn't rid the brush of the medium left in the brush, unfortunately. So it doesn't work too well for that. But for these acrylic craft paints and model paints, even if you just have, a little bit too much paint built up on your brush for, a small model paint brush, dip it in rubbing alcohol, it works. Yeah, give it a shot. I mean, if you got an old brush that you used to love that now you use for something crappy, it won't save, like, see how this brush here has got the bristles are curling at the top? It won't fix that. And as far as I can tell on a synthetic brush, not even, like brush cream would work for that. But if you've got paint caked up in your favorite brush, try soaking it in alcohol. Again, 97% works best. The high concentrate, it works best. I know it doesn't damage my Taklon brushes or these synthetic brushes. I can't speak for the really, really cheap brushes, but it's not like acetone. Acetone is way caustic. Acetone would eat the hell out of it. The rubbing alcohol is not that caustic. You should be fine. But I have increased the life of a lot of my cheap brushes by soaking them in that. Nothing's going to make them last forever, but the alcohol will help you get back a brush to at least use for a little bit. I'm glad you get some value out of watching my channel. Not everything that comes out of my mouth is bullcrap, so I'm glad that you got something from that. I'm here to serve you, as they say. Oh yeah, I'm liking how the dry brushing looks on these hills. That's cool. Cool. I mean, that looks really awesome. Hell yeah. Get out of here. Sometimes some of the little bits are coming loose. The little pieces of rock that are mixed in with my texture paste are coming loose a little bit, but that's okay. The majority of them are staying put. Cool. We are definitely moving ahead. I've got 1, 2, 3 pieces left, 4 pieces left to dry brush. 1, 2, no, I'm sorry. Only 3. Excellent. Next thing I'm going to do is paint my rocks after I do this. So. I'm trying to decide on what method I want to use to paint the rocks. I'm tempted to try the leopard spotting method with the very thin paints, almost like a wash, but I don't know if I care that they look that realistic. I kind of like the paint scheme that I choose. Thanks, dude. Thanks for coming. I appreciate you turning out. Got a much better turnout for this one than the last one. I think I promoted it a little better, so Thanks for stopping by. But yeah, the new technique that I got here for doing the dry brushing, though, it's working much better to get my brush to that state where I can just do the light pass with the brush and get the color on. Being able to control how much paint goes on with the dry brush is something I've been trying to figure out for a long time. If you have too much paint on your brush, you can actually see brush strokes left on the piece when you're painting it, and that is an eyesore. I guess it catches your eye when you see it. I guess it catches my eye because I made the piece, but it could potentially catch the eye of someone looking at the piece. And most people aren't rude enough to say what they think about someone's art or something when they look at it, to be hypercritical. But the days of the internet being what they are. I think Oscar Wilde said, "Give a man a mask and he'll show you the truth." And that's definitely true of the internet. The internet fuckwad theory. Idiot plus anonymity equals complete fuckwad. I think people love to criticize things online and hide behind the keyboards. I'm noticing, though, lately that trend is passing, that gives me a little bit of hope for humanity, which is nice. Because when I first got online and started doing, like online games and stuff in the early 2000s, the internet was like the Wild West, man. It was crazy. People would just say anything. But I'm finding, especially with this kind of medium and this community, the crafting community, the D&D community, tabletop RPG community, people are really nice and really respectful of their differences, and I don't know, it's just really cool. It's an interesting time to be a creative individual. I was always taught that if you don't have something nice to say, don't say it at all. And I know that might fly in the face of what you believe or whatever, but for me, it's just, I don't feel the need to be vile and criticize people simply for a reaction, being a troll or whatever. It's just, you do you. Do you, and do the best you can do, and I'll do me, and just, I guess I'm more of a live and let live kind of guy in that respect. I don't have to do things your way to be happy, and I'm okay with that. I do things my way, and it makes me happy. And if I'm an amalgam of 50 other YouTubers, and I never reach 100,000 subs, and I never get to do this full time, I'm happy. I don't care. This is fun. If you guys weren't tuned in right now, I'd still be doing this, and I'd still be having fun. And I wouldn't need to worry about what Joe Schmo says about it. It's like Black Magic Craft said anyway in one of his videos. He said thumbs up or thumbs down, it doesn't matter. The algorithm favors you. So guess what? If you don't like my video, you're going to help my channel anyway. So it doesn't matter. So hit the dislike button. I don't care. This brush because it's getting a little stiff. All right, more drying. You know what, gang? I'm noticing something here. I just looked at my my off monitor here on this. I'm just gonna fix it. You're seeing more of this area here than here. I want to refocus the camera, so give me a second. It might be a little bumpy for a second. And I want to show you guys the cat feet here real quick because this is it's cute and hilarious at the same time here. Look at the little kitty footprints that she left on my floor. Jeez. All right, I'm gonna just tilt the camera up slightly to get a little bit more focus on what I'm actually working on. Sorry again for the bumpiness. There we go. That's more acceptable. I think so too, to a degree. I think I don't know. I think both ways of interacting are okay. Having a conversation, yes, I agree. I think it helps us build more of an interactive structure, more of a human interaction. Whereas the waiting for a reply from someone is gives them time to think about what they're going to say, and it's a little bit more separate. I think I agree in that regard. But I think there's a lot to be said for the way that a community functions on the bulletin board, like community structure underneath a description and a comments tab. For me, the YouTube comments section has always been best avoided. Being on YouTube and watching YouTube videos for like 10 years or more now, and now being a content creator and interacting with people that way is frightening. And I think that for me as a content creator, having the interaction, have a pause, and that, having the ability to think about something that I'm going to say before I say it helps protect me as a content creator. So in that regard, I like that. But this live interacting with people, you know, it's me stepping outside of my comfort zone a lot. What if I fuck up? What if I make a mistake? See, I just said the F word, and I don't know if YouTube's going to like that or not. It's those kind of things. It gives me the ability to think a little bit more before I say. I'm an impulsive person by nature. I'm afraid I might say something that'll offend somebody, or I'll say something that'll, lose me followers. And doing the live stream and interaction thing is a little bit tougher, I think, for me in that regard. I do like it, and I do like interacting with you guys. I like having the conversation. It's making the crafting go. I feel like you guys are here with me. It's neat, you know. And I know DM Mama is working on something, or she was anyway when we started. So that's kind of cool, like a craft along kind of thing. That's kind of cool. Kitten, no, I am not currently using the tripod. I use the tripod for my talking headshots when I'm doing filming my videos. I've been using my boom stand for my camera light and using the tripod for my talking headshots. And honestly, I don't know why I didn't think to use the tripod today for this, but looking at it now, I'm thinking I spent about 15 minutes trying to get my tablet set up just right using the hookups that I have. I could have just used the damn tripod. I didn't even think of it, honestly. So, no, I'm not using the tripod today. I didn't even think to use it. It's sitting right there, and I didn't even think of it. But thank you for letting me use it. I really appreciate it. For those of you not in the know, which I'm sure a few of you are, Kitten is my aunt, and she gave me a tripod that used to be my grandfather's to use for these videos after the last live stream, the snafu that I had with the tablet falling over. I went out and bought a tablet holder for a tripod with a tripod mount, and what do? I hooked the damn tripod up to my old stand instead of using the thing she gave me to use for the... Never mind. Space Cadet. Wow. I made some progress today. I'm happy with what I've gotten done. This is a huge project, too. This might very well be the biggest craft project I've ever attempted. Hey.
You done?
Look.
Oh. They dissipate as they go over.
Yeah, I know. She got the footprints fade as they go towards the stairs.
I think they should be decorated before she decorated all that.
Yeah. Oh, so I should paint fancy colors on the table, let the cat walk through them, and then we have a nice little pattern on the floor, is what you're saying?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, I've already used the tripod. I'm sorry, I was talking, my mother came downstairs, so I was telling her about the cat prints. I have already used the tripod. I've used it to film videos, but I just didn't use it for the purpose that you let me use it for. That's all. I mean, I haven't even put it back in the bag. All right. I think we got... Do I have one more? No, did I move? Nope. No, I do have one more. Okay. I have one more to do. But this one is largely dry, and I don't have to blow dry it. Very nice. Okay. Oh, what? The cat prints or a work of art? Yeah. She's definitely a unique cat. I'll say that. I've never had a cat like her ever. She's definitely a special one. She's definitely got more of a personality than most cats I've met. Not trying to offend the internet, just stating my truth. I know the internet's got a thing for cats. All right. All right. That's it for the tan. Our dry brushing of that is done. Now let's paint some rock and some pavement here. I'm gonna do the same base coat on both. I'm gonna do my I'm gonna do pewter gray. I like the natural look of it. I was gonna do this dark gray. Actually running low on that, so I think I'm going to save that for something else, for a smaller project. Nah, this brush is definitely going to go in the alcohol soak overnight. It's got a lot of stuff caked in it. That's a modern thing, right? Ritualistic cat watching. I feel like I'm like an episode of The Simpsons. Sometime it'd have, like, in the distant future, the cat god, and everybody must pay worship to the cat by bringing them like some Friskies or something. The cat sits on the like the ancient Egyptians did. They worship the cats. So like we have to pay homage to the cat god sometime in the future. It'd be funny. The voice of the cat is like, the cat god is displeased this day with your offering of tuna. You should have brought salmon. Away with you, puny mortal. Alright. Enough of that nonsense. Yeah, and someday they'll probably actually rule, which is frightening. I actually have this thought, a little musing from my random brain, of how much we treat cats and dogs, like members of the family, especially here. Can you imagine, like, thousands and thousands of years in the future, dogs, like, being a race that we interact with on a regular basis? Like, they hold jobs and they drive vehicles, they develop opposable digits, and it's creepy and frightening and yet awesome at the same time that could be a thing. At some point in the future, like, we could have multiple races like that living side by side, kind of like Neanderthals and Homo sapiens lived side by side at one point. Or maybe not side by side, but they existed at the same time. Let's paint some stone, ladies and gentlemen. And I had decided against doing the leopard spot technique. I'm going to do my own paint scheme here. I love a talkative cat. My cat is not talkative. She does not like to use her voice for things. She likes to knock things around to get your attention. My old roommate's cat is pretty talkative, though. I love that cat. She's loves to meow at you when you pet her and stuff. It's very cute. I'm sorry, I can't really show this part to you guys so much. I can't really get the camera angle on it and paint it well at the same time, so I'm turning it towards myself here so I can get the paint done right. I'll show it to you after, though. I'd like to be able to show you guys this. I'm trying to get a setup going where I can have multiple cameras, but as I'm not actually using a computer to do the streaming, I'm using a tablet. It's hard to set up multiple cameras with an iPad. I need to actually use an external piece of hardware with a switcher to be able to switch back and forth with cameras. So unfortunately, this is what we get for now, until I can figure out something else. Okay. There's one. So I think I am going to do these in different grays. I think I'm going to do the natural hills here. I'm going to do the natural hills with the pewter gray because I think the pewter gray has more of a natural rock color than the dark gray. And I've said so before. I haven't actually used pewter gray in a while to do rock. I've been doing dark gray, so definitely different. I'm going to have to do some touch up on some of that. I've got some stuff peeling off here. Do I have a leopard painting technique? No, I've never done leopard painting, and I was going to try it today, but I've already put so much work into this. See, I guess I could try it on one of the other pieces just to see how it comes out and then cover it with the gray anyway. I suppose I could. I've just never done it. Or I could cast some of the Woodland Scenics pieces that I've got and try it on those when they cure, but I don't have any plaster right now. It was not my plan. We'll put it this way. It was not my plan to do that today. It was my plan to do it the way I always do it. But the thought is there. And it would probably just be me imitating Luke's apps and the Terrain Tutor with, whatever memory I have of how they did it with just very thin, watered down paint and letting it drip down. That would probably be what you would see if I were to do it. Yeah, Keith, I can try leaving some of that show through. I could even splot some of it on afterwards. But the thing is, too, is with the dry brushing, when you do the dry brushing after, it kind of creates that effect anyway. But that's what Jan is talking about. Is that how you pronounce your name? Is it Jan or Jan? How should I pronounce it? Hard J or soft J? Yeah, I'm going to leave some of this showing through just a little bit because I like how it looks. Soft. So it is Jan. Okay. Yeah, it's like he was saying earlier with the leopard spotting technique. You take browns, grays, and tans, and you water them down, and you let them drip down the plaster here and soak in, and that creates, you know, well, drip down and spot it in, the leopard spotting, create that texture. I've got one piece over there. I'm going to try it on real quick so I can at least give you an example of what he's talking about. And then if I dislike it, I'll paint over it, which I probably will, just to keep things uniform now because I've already painted these gray. But I'm taking your advice with the white, and I'm letting a little bit of the white show through here. A little bit less of the white. We'll see how it looks. If I don't like it, I can always repaint it. I can always do another touch of the pewter gray over top. That kind of looks okay. I can live with that, even if not. All right, so the leopard spotting technique. All right, I've never done it. Let's give it a shot. Let's see how it looks on the rock here. Probably won't be featured in the pieces as, you know, the go-to technique for this piece, but if it works out and I like it, I'll do it in a future piece. Sure. Your auntie or auntie. It's cool, yeah. I just like to, I don't know, I just like to be respectful of people's names, I guess. I don't know. But, yeah, thanks for being cool with it. We need a couple different colors here. I got a brown. I got a gray. I'll get a tan. I'm going to use, I'm not going to use the desert sand. That's a little too light, I think. I've got an actual tan. I'll use tan. Tan, brown, gray, and I will use khaki. I'll do a 4. I'll get a couple of these little cups. Wow, man, you're far away. Thanks for tuning in. Or are you local? Are you US or are you overseas? Like physical location, I guess. Where you're at now, not where you're from. Because it's fairly obvious where you're from. Alright, I'm going to get a different brush too for this. Yellow, burnt umber, and black? Alright. Alright, I'll do it. There's my yellow. There's my black. And I got my burnt umber already. Okay, so you are located. Well, thank you for giving me a part of your evening, sir. Ooh, I got an idea. I know what I'm gonna try. I've got these. I got these leather crafting dabs for leather dye. I'm gonna use these to do the leopard spotting. Try using these to do it. So let's try it. Should I go dark first to light? So do like the black first, then do the burnt umber, and then do the yellow, or does it not matter what color, what order I do them in? All right, I'm gonna just let's do a thing. Let's do a thing, shall we, folks? I think I want to use my tan. I don't know. We're gonna do the black first, I guess. Oh, he says start with the light colors. Okay, so we're gonna start with the yellow then. We'll do the yellow. Do a yellow. And from my understanding, it is really thin. So I'm gonna get some clean water here and not use the dirty water. Just make it really thin like a wash. Alright, mix it with the back of my brush here. Like I said, if this doesn't work, I can just cover it up, so. It's a new technique, I've never done this before, so you're seeing it here for the first time with me. So I got my little dab. Just want to make sure there's no extra color coming through, and there isn't. So I think I've got the opacity right. So like if I was going to do this technique, it might have been better for me to do this before I painted the brown. But it's probably still going to work because like I said, I can cover anything up that messes up. So, all right, it's easy to get out of there. So I've got 1 cup of yellow there. Let's do my tan. And then I'll go to burnt umber and then black. Right, so before doing the final top coat wash, they have to be really dry. I agree, because that make the colors run, I imagine. Okay. Here's our tan. I think my yellow was a little too yellow, so I'm gonna try to cover it up a little bit more, but I think it'll look all right. Over here is darker than over here. And then over here. So this area right here on the corner is a lot more opaque than these areas that were a little bit too dark. I might have just not watered it down enough. Actually, this over here looks okay. And I think too that the areas where I'm dabbing on Sculptamold, it's a little bit more Sculptamold on here than plaster, which is unfortunate because it actually looks okay already on the areas that are plaster. And that, I don't think I put enough plaster in that Sculptamold that I made, that homemade Sculptamold. Is that, these hills, with all the water that was in them and everything, took roughly 2 weeks to dry. Alright. So there was our tan. Now let's do a brown. Let's get a little bit of a brown in there. There's another YouTuber that I really like, that you guys should check out. He's from Sweden. His name is Mark Lynn, and he does model railroads. That dude's right on par with Luke Towen and some of the other railroaders that I've seen. Man, the techniques that they show, it's like miles above anything that I feel like I'm doing here. It's really intense. Yeah, that was the problem with the yellow. I just didn't thin it enough. So that's a note for next time too, that color, that particular color. I'm going to trade out my paper towel. Okay, then we got our brown, which I'm going to pack in here. Yeah, the areas where there's more plaster showing are responding to this technique a lot better than the areas where there's a lot of sculpt-a-mold. So that's a thing to make to take note of for next time I do this for myself. That's a mental note I'm making. Use less of the sculpt-a-mold if I want to do this kind of thing. Because I've noticed, yeah, this is just way too much yellow. And the areas where the sculpt-a-mold is, where I'm hitting this with, because there's a lot of water, it's reactivating that and making it wet again. So, all right. No, dude, no. Like I said, I can cover this with paint. So, okay, so here's what we're gonna do. This is one of the things that I feel like the Mattster excels at. We're going to abandon this plan for the time being, but not altogether. For this model, yes. In the future, we'll revisit that technique because I like that technique. All right, so, no, you didn't ruin my craft. So don't get that thought out of your head. I'm gonna hit it with the blow dryer, and we're just gonna go back to what we were doing for now. Because at the moment, I don't like the way this is coming out. Because of the reasons I just mentioned. So, I'm going to dab off any excess moisture with paper towel. And we're going to consider this a learning experience. Yes, exactly. So now that this is not, it's kind of, I didn't like the way it turned out, I can cover it up with paint. And I can go back to what I was doing, which is why I was willing to try it in the first place, because it's easily fixable. So I'm just going to blow dry this real quick to try to get rid of some of that moisture. Okay, but I do want to show you some of the spots where I actually did like it, and there's the spots where there was more plaster, like I said. So like there and there, because this particular section of the hill, I think I filled it in with too much sculpt-a-mold. So I'm going to do a little bit more research and learning, and the next time you guys see me try that technique, it will be better. But thanks for letting me try it with you guys, though. Yeah, it's gonna be fine. There's no point to me in doing this kind of stuff if I don't get to try and learn new things. 5 or 6 years ago, I would have never tried anything this massive. I always try new shit. That treant that I painted a couple of weeks ago, I tried a bunch of new techniques on him, and that came out awesome. No, so if anything, Jan, thank you for pushing me to try it, because now I've at least seen what I can do with it. This may not have been the appropriate situation for it to work out, though, so I'll try it again, but in the future. So we're just going to go back to doing what we were doing so we can make a little bit more progress. And I'm going to do a little bit more independent experimentation with the leopard spotting technique. When I get some more plaster, I'm going to cast some of those other stones and practice it a little bit. And the next time we try it, it'll be better. But yeah, thank you for bearing with me, guys, while we tried something new on the channel. And what's the point if you're not going to do something new like that and you keep doing things the same way over and over again? We stepped outside of our comfort zone a little bit. It didn't work. We'll back off. We'll go back to safe for a minute, and then we'll try it again. That's all there is to it. I just did too much yellow. Or maybe yellow's not the color I want to use. I don't know. Thank you for the suggestion anyway, so that's cool. All good. It's all good. Okay. Yeah, and it's got a little bit of the tint of the yellow showing through. It looks like rock. Who cares? I'm fine. We good, we good. Alright, now I'm going to do more gray, but this time I'm going to use more of a concrete looking gray for the road bits here. You guys notice too that I've been pretty much using the same brush, or the same two brushes for this whole painting endeavor. I haven't had to switch out my brushes yet, which is awesome. Alright. This is one of the parts that I've been excited for all week, is to see these textures areas come together. Dude, one of the things that I want to do, speaking of silicone molds, I want to remake my Hearst Arts dungeon mold, because what I did is I cast a ton of Hearst Arts stuff, laid them all out, and made my own mold of the whole casting, so that I didn't have to keep casting little molds over and over again. I made a bigger mold, but I've made so many pieces in it, it's falling apart. I want to get some of the silicone that the Hearst Arts guy uses and try using that stuff, because it'd be a little better. But oh my god, I love making molds out of silicone, and that's definitely a video that I have planned for the future for the channel, is definitely making my own, remolding my Hearst Arts stuff, so to speak. I love my Hearst Arts molds. I love those things. I'll never get rid of them. I just bought a new one. I got a new one coming in the mail. You guys will see on the channel some point in the future here. That's the mid-tone gray. I want my dark gray. What did I do with it? I put it back, didn't I? Or did I? Nope, here it is hiding. Do I have another dark gray? Please have another dark gray. Green, 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 gray, gray, gray. Nope, I do not have another dark gray, so that is the gray that I'm going to use. I'm not going to use the last of this dark gray. I'm going to use my slate gray. I just realized I don't have a mixing ball in there. Where did I put my mixing balls? Ah, there they are. Hiding. So if you guys are looking for another alternative to mixing balls for your paint, especially one that won't change them, change the color. 1/4-inch slingshot ammo. There was 250 of them in one of these, and I believe I paid $10 for them. A little bit cheaper, a little bit more bang for your buck than the Army Painter ones. But yeah, it's just this little container of slingshot ammo that I've had laying around for forever. I decided to use them as mixing balls for my craft paints, and it works perfectly. And now I have agitators in my paint to help stir up the loose pigment on the bottom. All right. Okay, that's a good gray. I can deal with that. These sections will eventually be getting a wash anyway, so I'm not going to worry too much about the lightness of this particular gray. It's going to all darken. And oh my god, I love the texture of those rolling pins. I should have bought them sooner, damn. I wanted to wait until I could order something from them and pay the shipping once. Like order a few things and then only pay the shipping on one thing, but then I saw that they sold their stuff on eBay. And I said screw it and decided to buy one of the rolling pins. And it did take a while, like I said. It took about 2.5, 3 weeks to get here, but it's worth it. Living in the US, it shipped out of Spain. I'm not sure if that's where they're located, but that's where it's shipped from. Now this paint may, with the water in it, may soften this clay just a little as I'm applying it. But once the paint dries, it should help protect it and prevent it from ever reactivating again. And then when all these pieces are said and done, when I'm done painting them, there's going to be a varnish over the top of them anyway. So I'm not going to worry about these things getting wet. Right? I mean, I tend to think of like too far ahead into the future, and by that I mean like hundreds of years when I'm not even alive on the planet anymore. So like I think about these things standing the test of time. I'm like, if I get 10 years out of these pieces, if in 10 years I'm even still into doing tabletop, I hope I'm still into doing tabletop games in 10 years. I love tabletop games, but I hope they stand the test of time is where I'm going with that. I want them to be around. It'd be nice if my niece or nephew gets into gaming, that they could inherit this stuff or even, come participate with me, make stuff. That would be awesome. It'd be so much fun to be doing this kind of craft with my niece when she's old enough. And by that I mean as soon as she's old enough to finger paint on her own, I want to hang out with her and make some terrain. If that's even what she's into. She might be into football like her old man. That'd be cool. That's fine. Yeah, this Green Stuff World one, the small cobblestone, is the one that I used on these. But I just checked out the Shifting Lands ones yesterday, and the guy who owns Shifting Lands was on Black Magic Craft, and he's got, in the interview with Jeremy, he talked about how to make his rolling pins. They seemed a little big, but if they're easy enough to make, I mean, it'd take a lot of work, but I could make one. He just talked about using PVC pipe and a Dremel I've got a Dremel, and PVC pipe is not that expensive. So I thought about trying my hand at making one. But man, those things are awesome. I like, as I mentioned earlier in the stream, I like his because he uses his, and by his I mean the Shifting Lands guy, he uses his on foam. Yeah, Gerard Boom. That was him. I think that's why they work, the deeper cuts. I think that's why they work better on the foam. And also, too, as I mentioned earlier, it's their foam, as they discovered in the interview. It's their foam that makes what he does with his miniature or with his terrain and stuff stand out so much as it does, because they have a different standard for foamular or insulation foam over in Europe than we do here in the States. My palette's getting a little gross. I'm gonna switch to a cup for painting my gray. And I'm assuming you two are fans and you saw that interview. What a cool guy, man. He was such a nice, humble guy. Being on Jeremy's show like that, it was just a cool experience. Or cool viewing experience watching those two talk to each other. I really enjoyed that interview. Styrodur? Yeah. Yeah, I didn't go that far, but yeah, that's too bad. Or I guess we're stuck with the pink stuff and the blue stuff. That's okay. What they showed in the video, though, is that you can still achieve the same effect using the pink stuff. It's just takes a little more work. But man, I like the way he builds too. I think I want to try building some ruins or something like he was building in that video. I think that'd be cool to try to do it how he did it with the pencil. That's definitely a super cool way of working on him. Never seen that done before. It's another technique to add to the repertoire, that's for sure. Again, another cool thing that I would have never heard of if it wasn't for the Black Magic Craft. I saw that. He was, one of Gerard Boom's videos that he had on his channel was of him using his Proxxon to make a chapel or something out of a single piece of foam with the 3.5 or 4-inch walls. Like, I'd have to stack 3 or 4 pieces of foam together and not only cut through them, cut through the glue that I used to hold them together. And the way he described it in the video was to be able to keep your Proxxon's cutting wire straight so that you don't get the bends. Ugh. I don't know. Is that a thing that you could do though? If they won't ship it over here, would it be technically illegal to send it through private post? Or is it not that they won't ship it, it's just that they don't? Because it looked like Gerard brought some foam with him. So he got it through Canadian Customs. If it can be, man, that's a good idea. Watch, now you're not going to be able to get it. There's going to be a run on that blue foam in your country. Yeah, I can't get anything thicker than an inch here in the Northeast. And Lowe's is the only corporation around here, the only company that sells the blue foam. So if I wanted the softer foam, I could go to Lowe's, but Home Depot sells convenient 2-foot by 2-foot project panels, quote unquote, of the pink foam, which is nice if you only want to build something small. DM Mama can attest to that. She's got the big Dragon's Lair piece that I made on one of those project pieces. I did not cut that piece of foam out. They come like that from Home Depot. So there's a hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. If you want to head over to Home Depot and check out their selection, they have those small pieces there. They're only about $6, so you don't have to haul out a huge 18-foot piece, or 8-foot piece. There's only one or two more things that I want to get done today. Seeing as how this is our last, the last thing I'm really doing with the grays. I'm going to finish up the rock and stone. And then I'm going to try to pour the water features. And I think the water features, that'll be the last thing that I do for the day, because those are going to have to sit and dry overnight before they're perfect. Before they're 100% dry, I mean. So, and I've got some 5-minute epoxy to pour those, rather than the usual stuff that I use, the 24-hour, or the stuff that I used last time, the 24-hour stuff that I used on the swamp base, which I'm never going to freaking use again on something like that. That was really annoying. Now, both of these are going to get the same dry brushing of the same color gray, even though the base gray is a little different. And by both of these, I mean the cobblestone and the stone. I'm definitely going to have to soak this brush later. I got some paint buildup in there that I don't want. Alright, well, I got this guy in front of me. I might as well hit it with the blow dryer. Okay, good enough. Move this over. Get one of these that's actually dry. Drop things while doing so. It's like almost a requirement. You have to drop something. This one just needs a little touch. Hot air. All right. Now, granite gray. Another one of the damned colors. get a t-shirt again. Since now I love that technique, I'll probably never do it any other way unless I'm doing minis. And even then. I don't need to go quite that light. I'm gonna hit it with a white too, or an off-white anyway, like an eggshell. This is the thing I always do to the new paint. Paint the color on the lid so I can see it easier. So when I go to pick it out of my paint rack, I know what color I'm grabbing. I think I'm going to hit these with a wash too before I finish them up. I think that'll look really nice. Oh, Dr. Faust's Painting Clinic, decent YouTube channel for painting miniatures. Check him out, he's really good. The way that he does dry brushing, I saw this video the other day, I don't even remember how I found it, but it just kind of popped up. He uses, instead of a paper towel, he uses an old t-shirt to do his dry brushing. So that's one of the things I was going to try today. And lo and behold, it works a lot better than a paper towel. And the best part about it is once it's all dry, you can just keep using the same shirt for a while. You probably even wash it and get most of the paint back out of it. But yeah, there's a video of it on YouTube. Search for Dr. Faust's Painting Clinic or Dr. Faust dry brushing t-shirt and you'll see it. That's best I could do for that, but excellent technique, something new. The t-shirt absorbs the moisture from the brush better, so you don't need to use as much paint on the brush. Saves paint. He's using it for miniatures. But I'm using it for terrain, so I don't really see much of a difference in the technique, honestly. Yeah, I am a, ask anyone. I'm addicted to my cell phone, just straight up. I watch YouTube videos, I don't know, 20 hours a week, 30 hours a week I'm on YouTube, even with a job. When I'm not, I don't watch TV, I watch YouTube. That's my main source of entertainment. YouTube and Netflix, but less and less with the Netflix, mostly just YouTube these days. I deep dive Google, I search for things. I don't know, I spend way too much time online, so that's how I find these little nifty tips and tricks. That is starting to look pretty freaking cool, guys. Peace. Have fun. Enjoy the rest of your day. And I don't have much more to go here. But if you want, tune in later and check out the last, I don't know, 30 minutes or so of the video. I'm going to call it here in a little bit. So thanks for coming. Thanks a lot for sticking around, man. Thanks for the help. Thanks for the ideas. Enjoy your time. See you later. You go do that. Enjoy your internet kitty videos. You guys could see the what happens when you start doing the dry brushing. The gray, the lighter gray on top contrasts against the darker gray underneath. You get much better shadow effect overall over the whole piece. Really cool. It's a very simple way to make things like this pop out at you. And then when you add the wash later, which I'm going to do, I think the wash will be the last thing that I do today. I don't think I'm going to get to the water features today. I'm getting pretty hungry, and I think the stream's gone on long enough, so I'm going to pretty much finish this dry brushing on all these pieces and call it a day. lot of work. Alright, that's all the pieces with the cobblestone. Now I get to paint me some hills. Dry brush some hills. That is. Okay. Granite gray, when dry, very dark. Going to do a dry brushing of the slate gray first before continuing with the granite gray, because that is way too dark, or way too much contrast between the two layers of paint. I want to give a little bit more variation than that. So, bust out the slate gray again. I'm using the dry brushing to kind of blend the two colors here, the three ribbons of color here together. And it's working out pretty nicely. It helps the transition between the brown and the gray just a little bit. It's working out pretty nice. So glad I started doing that. That helps out a little bit. And this is the one where I left a little bit of the white. Let's see how that helps out. Again with the slate gray. I guess that worked out okay. I'm not sure I like having the white come through. I like to be in a little bit more control over where my colors go and stuff like that, leaving a little bit of the white showing through. I don't know, I feel like it might be a natural thing of the rock to have, but I don't know, the way I paint, it might not work for me to do it that way. But we'll see how it comes out when everything's dead. And I know, done. And I know too, when I put a wash on this rock and I'm going to wash them, it's going to seep into those white spots. So those white spots are probably going to become dark gray spots anyway. So let's see what happens. It was worth a try anyway. Okay, there's another one. There's this one hiding down here. I do like the mixtures of the various grays here, though. But I do want to try getting that leopard spot technique down, because I think that will make the rock look a lot more natural. One more. All right, let's do a little bit of cleanup here. I got to go over these all again with yet another color. I got to lighten it up just a little bit. We're gonna do the granite gray now on those. I got to clean out my water here. I got to dump this garbage water. a little too much. And onto a lighter gray. Back to granite gray. Here we go. Which I'll admit isn't that much of a contrast from the slate gray. It does have a different hue to it. The slate gray has more of a brown hue or a blue hue, whereas the granite gray has more of a, I don't know how to put it. I'm sorry, the slate gray is a little bit more of a purple hue, and the granite gray is a little bit more of a blue hue. Tint. Whatever, I don't even know what I'm talking about, so don't worry about it. They're both about the same brightness, though, the same opacity, the same color. I don't even know if that helped. I'm gonna keep going though. Did one, now I gotta do them all, or they won't look right. This was a lot of work today. This was a lot of repetition, and you guys, I appreciate you guys sticking with me for it, though. It was really awesome. I like doing these live streams. I don't like doing them for everything, but I think that it frees me up to work on a little bit bigger of a project because I can get work done on the project and entertain you guys at the same time. So I'm having a lot of fun doing these, so definitely expect more of this kind of thing from me. And as the channel grows, I hope to do even more kind of interaction kind of stuff. I don't leave this here. Okay, the last thing, the last color. I'm going to do these with an off-white. I got a color in mind already. I just got to grab it. Let me clean off my brush. Couple of these away while I'm up. Alright, what I have here is a vanilla, which is an off-white, but it's like a brown off-white, if that makes sense. My palette's looking a little gross, but I'm alright. We're going to do the same thing now, dry brushing all of these, but we're going to do a white. And I want this, I think, to be a little bit lighter, a little bit more subtle than the grays. Yep. Perfect. That is starting to look pretty damn good to me. I think I'm going to just keep brushing down like this instead of all over because I want to have the highlights be where the highlights would be from the light shining down. And this will all get, it'll all turn subtle again once I hit it with the wash. Well, at least it's looking like what I set out to make it look like, even if it's not, you know, up to the standards. That's nice. I like that. It's nice and easy, and it's not giving me too much grief. That's... Can't ask for much more than that when you're doing this kind of thing. And everything just starts coming together. You see your effort paid off. Very nice. Okay, one more of those, and then we got to do our tile sections, and then we're going to be done. Cool. I'm noticing in order to get the white to show up here, I'm having to dry brush it on a little bit more wet than I typically would. Otherwise it barely changes the color here because of everything being so similar with the grays and the whites and all that. A little easier on these because I can get more aggressive with the brush. And I don't want to completely cover the last layer of gray, so I'm not going to be that aggressive. I might have to even repeat this dry brushing after I do the wash on these. Nice, I just put my fingers right in the paint. Alright, last one. Okay. We have it, guys. That took quite a while, and we painted 1, 2, 3, 4. We painted like 5 colors. It took us 4 hours. Oh boy. It was fun though. I had a good time hanging out with everybody. I've got cleaning up to do. I've got food that I've got to eat. I'm starving. I need to eat something. I haven't eaten all since breakfast time. It's been a while. I've been working on this pretty much non-stop. So I'd like to thank everybody for joining me, everybody for coming out today. I'm not going to give you the usual spiel. There's not really much need to. I don't think anybody's going to watch the replay of this much beyond the beginning and skip around a little bit, since I didn't do anything too visually appealing. That's not true. I actually did quite a bit. I got quite a bit done today, so say thank you to everyone for tuning in. I've been, I hope, your friendly neighborhood Dungeon Mattster, and we did a lot on this today. So next time we do a live stream, we'll continue this, and I'm gonna do a little bit here and there to kind of build it up and get more work done live on stream. Hopefully the next time you see this piece, it will be almost entirely done by the end of the next live stream. Next week, I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out something to do for next week. I got a lot of stuff in the works. Thank you, everybody, for coming around. I'll see you later. Bye.